And we are back. Here is another weekly brief. This is our weekly podcast where we discuss everything that happened in the newsroom and all the stories that we discovered and carried here on News 9. So let's get the ball rolling with the very first story. And that one is absolutely relevant in the aftermath of Diwali, and especially all those of you who are tuned in from Delhi NCR. Well, the skies and the haze and all the toxins that you could smell and of course the ones that you inhale did not do you any good. Now this, despite all the measures that should have been taken but have not been taken, especially to do everything from stubble burning to the Supreme Court allowing green crackers to be burst and citizens flouting all those rules, not adhering to the green crackers and not adhering to the time limit stipulated for bursting them. So here we are. The first conversation that we will have on this weekly brief broadcast is around pollution and what really is going on and how do we really get the residents of Delhi to breathe clean air. Cloud seeding, of course, is one idea, and hopefully by the time some of our viewers watch this on YouTube, Delhi would have conducted its first, hopefully successful cloud seeding experiment and artificial rainfall. But I think taking many steps back, and Karthikeya, let me begin with you this time. How do we, as citizens, as residents of Delhi NCR, come together and ensure that there is something that we can all do to make sure that we don't breathe the air we do?
See, there are three basic issues. One, there has to be a consensus. It cannot be a rule-based order. You know, courts cannot influence the choice of people. We saw everyone broke the law. The law was not enforced. And I don't want to be caught between this left and right debate. I think that traditions metamorphose over a period of time. For example, Diwali, which is a festival of light, over a period of time has turned into festival of Atishbazi.
Right.
Diye se Atishbazi ho gayi. And Atishbazi itself is a Persian word borrowed from, the Chinese technology, which is Parud. And it became part of the modern India and it became infused with the Indian festival.
That's right.
Now, if there is a consensus as a society that if we can go back to celebrating Diwali, which is a festival of light, and we really don't need to use firecrackers, it will be much better.
Right.
We need to create a campaign around it. But if people think that by issuing a diktat, people will listen, it's not going to work. Secondly, in context of Delhi, it has to be a multi-pronged approach. We need to have a airshed policy implemented in Delhi because firecrackers constitute one part of pollution. There are multiple components of why Delhi is getting polluted.
And many of those are not within Delhi's own control. Absolutely. And that is a stubble burning issue.
And third and the foremost, I think we really need to remove environmental issues from cultural debates. I think that is becoming a big problem in our country. We must respect our culture, but culture can support environmentally friendly policies. I think the government needs to reutilize, reharvest and redeploy cultural codes to convince people that good environment is part of our cultural thought. Like Tesu ke phool in context of Holi, there was no chemical
artificial colors. Which
I think those languages need to be deployed. I would use the plural. Those languages need to be deployed rather than pitch them against each other. Left environmentalist versus a traditional right guy saying, boss, you are blaming everything on Diwali. We need to get rid of this binary to actually effect a change in Delhi's air.
Right. So, Rakesh, Diwali is over. Pollution is not.
Well, I think it's very important that you raise this issue as part of the weekly debate because this is going to be there for many more weeks.
And year after year, this time of the year, we are burdened with these toxins in the air.
First and foremost, firecrackers is only a part of the problem. It's not the main problem, as Karthikeya rightly pointed out. If you look at data last year without the firecrackers, the difference between the levels in Delhi NCR was not significant.
Right.
So, I'm not saying go for firecrackers, but the cultural context is important. Pivot from, firecrackers back to diyas is very well said.
Yeah.
But the bigger point here is the political point.
Right.
I think India lacks political will at the highest level to look at pollution as a citizen-centric issue.
Okay.
And I have been saying this for the last 10 years. This government came with such a huge promise of being able to address citizen challenges. We could do it with GST, where the revenue of each state is, involved.
Yeah.
And if we can manage consensus around GST, why can't we manage consensus around pollution? But I think there is lack of political will at the state and the central level, and this needs to be immediately seen as one of the most important issues on the agenda for the nation and for the states.
Absolutely. And there are enough and more studies. In fact, I want to quote the Lancet study which was released recently, which says that the average lifespan of somebody residing in Delhi NCR is cut short by more than 5 years. And there's also an economic ramification of that, which by way of the loss to GDP amounts to as much as 7,000 rupees worth of monetary loss to every citizen in this country owing to pollution. Now, this could be a very, very far-fetched, a very force-fit study. But the point is, there's also an economic cost to the loss arising out of pollution and the toxins that we breathe. But that aside, there are some steps which finally the government is taking. During the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, we could never really go ahead and proceed with testing of the cloud seeding technology. Now you're talking about political will. Now at least you have some sort of a consensus that you're able to get a technology from IIT Kanpur and you're able to actually have the center and state in alignment and go ahead on October 29th and test artificial rainfall. Now, we've seen artificial rainfall succeed, cloud seeding succeed, even in a country like UAE, in a city like Dubai, which hardly has any clouds. Now, there is a condition which has been imposed that if the clouds are decent enough for this experiment to go ahead, we will be able to see artificial rain on October 29th. What could be some of the other challenges that could come in the way?
I think there's what I'm not saying that the society is more responsible towards its well-being and state should be less, because I know there's a lot of people would say it's state's responsibility, but I think there is a lack of social mobilization on the issue of pollution.
Okay.
I sincerely feel so. People are failing their own country, failing their own society.
Right.
They don't get their cars checked. They don't get their generators checked. They don't get their machinery checked.
But Karthik, sorry, I just want to play devil's advocate and take the side of the citizens for just one moment.
These are side steps which are important. I'm not saying, Karthik, we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to look at, these are welcome steps.
Yeah.
The cloud seeding we have seen in Dubai itself has its collateral damage also.
Sure.
The airport got flooded. One of the reasons potentially.
Oh, that was more climate change, I would say, than cloud seeding.
There's no permanent evidence to say that this is the only solution. Yes, we should try. The fact of the matter is that BJP is saying that, Aam Aadmi Party deliberately got, the stubble burning done this time, to prevent a political crisis in Delhi. And, Aam Aadmi Party says vice versa, Delhi government. So I think an empowered group of ministers, led by the Prime Minister, then only there will be some concrete action with a time-bound, plan of agenda, where we say in the next 3 months, the first meeting should happen as of yesterday.
Sure.
These are side steps which are welcome.
Agree. I just want to play devil's advocate in favor of the citizens and the residents of Delhi NCR and us being also at some level victims of that, Karthikeya. You had to get rid of your 10-year-old diesel car. I had to get rid of my 15-year petrol car. Both those cars used to run absolutely well. There was no problem. But the point is that there is already an NGT order that you can't drive older vehicles in Delhi. You can't even dispose them off reasonably, knowing for a fact that, that they are getting recycled and where are the scrapyards to begin with. So that is one point. Second point, firecrackers, I agree. Green, not green, they're bursting in the sky. You don't know whether anybody can test whether they were green or not, right? But then there is also this issue of diesel generators not working in these months. Construction activity coming to a halt, right? Now, there is enough burden on citizens already. Like Rakesh sir was mentioning, a group of ministers, empowered group of ministers, but not limited to the state and to the region alone. The real problem emanates from Punjab and Haryana. And that is where stubble burning is happening. What are we doing about infrastructure management?
The only, the area where I concur with Rakesh is, the lack is that it has not been turned into a campaign. For example, in the Deepavali Sandesh, the letter which Prime Minister released, there's a line on oil. There's a line on oil. There are lines on defense, but there is still a line on oil. And he has been speaking about consumption of oil for last 7 months.
Right.
Continuously.
Right.
Yeah. That sort of consistency on air pollution is lacking.
Okay.
India is a society which runs on mobilization. Gandhi did it. Big prime ministers like Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Narendra Modi, you mobilize the society to do the state's job.
Swachh Bharat is an example.
Swachh Bharat. So that sort of a campaign from the top guy or the top establishment is lacking. That's where I agree, because
Sure,
he has
so
the
campaign-
capacity to create that mobilization.
I agree.
I don't know why that is not
So
happening.
mobilization for
So
citizens,
it's not
yeah.
simply
But
happening
I'm
because
saying,
the pollution is a bigger problem in big metros and they don't see it as a committed vote bank. I'm sorry to be brutally frank.
I'm saying, even if I were to play devil's advocate in favor of the Prime Minister of India, who goes on and takes on this campaign, the problem still lies. I believe we can all come to a consensus that the biggest problem, the crux of the issue is stubble burning. What are Punjab and Haryana doing about creating the right infrastructure for responsible reuse of the stubble that gets cut in the harvest season?
But more than stubble burning, I had a guess. He said that apart from stubble burning, in context of Delhi, the leaf burning which takes place between November to March.
That's right.
Sure.
the
So
s-
any
the solid
agriculture
fires-
waste that needs to be disposed of responsibly is not getting disposed of responsibly, is being lit on fire, and that is leading to this pollution.
I think-
What is the state government doing to address the issue of stubble burning?
I agree with you. I mean, when Aam Aadmi Party was in government in Delhi, that time also Punjab was a problem.
Correct.
Now they are in power there.
And
they are not
Delhi-
in power in
Delhi
Delhi.
is now
So
BJP and
I
the
come to the
problem
core
persists.
point. The politics has to be removed.
Yeah.
It has to be seen as a citizen-centric issue
Okay.
without a vote bank eye on it.
All right, no vote bank eye on it. It has to be a citizen-centric issue and a campaign, hopefully by the Prime Minister of India.
Mexico City, Beijing, there were public campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, campaign is again a preoccupation of the political mind.
All right, preoccupation of the political mind, but there's something else also preoccupying the political minds, and that is the sanctions on Russian oil. Is it going to cost India in terms of inflation as well as the import bill on oil purchases, or is this going to be the one final hammer to go ahead and nail that trade deal with the United States? We'll discuss that.